Hi there, everyone. It's Sarah from Palace Tarot. So we are doing a comprehensive sun sign astrology review because I'm being told that that's more helpful going into this before we add in the planets so that we feel a lot more confident in the sun signs and how they express themselves as individual signs before we add in more stuff. Now, bear in mind that this is general sun sign astrology. So if I'm talking about Sagittarius, which I'm about to here, and you feel like that resonates more with you than your own sun sign of, say, Taurus, go ahead and write it down because there's a very good chance that that sign features very prominently in your own chart, okay? Like I said, though, this is just general sun sign astrology, so we're not taking into account other placements just yet. We're not quite there. So I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about Sagittarius here. So Sagittarius, it is the mutable fire sign, guys. It's yang, active, masculine. Its planetary ruler is Jupiter. And one of the ways I remember the glyph for Jupiter, it kind of looks like a weird 4, doesn't it? That's just one way to remember it. And of course, the symbol for Sagittarius is the archer. And Sagittarians, man, in terms of signs that are like really generous and caring, I know I've said this about quite a few signs, Sagittarians are just, they're one of those super optimistic signs like Leo, that they just really want to get in there and kind of like build you up. You know, and if you need help, you know, ask a Sagittarius. They're like the kind of people that are willing to give you this shirt off their back, even if it's not practical. So they're really helpful people. They're just not always super practical about it. Very, very kind and super generous with that Jupiter ruler. And when we talk about Jupiter, you'll understand why I'm saying that they're very generous people. Sagittarians also are really deep thinkers. It's a little bit different than Libra, in that, not Libra, Virgo, in that they're not necessarily thinking about situations or replaying, you know, certain things over and over and over in the mind. They're more imaginative than that. And creative. So if they're thinking about something a lot, it's usually an abstract concept, or planning something or something creative. And they can kind of loop that way. They are kind of called the wandering philosophers of the zodiac, and they tend to be, I wouldn't say risk takers as much as say an Aries, but they tend to be the kind of people that you just find out and about, kind of like Aquarius. They are really good networkers too, and like Libra, they're very much amiable and kind of conflict avoidant actually. So you know, Sagittarians, they like to have a good time. Like I said, they're very creative and generous people. They really rely a lot on their friend circle for support. When they're out there and doing things and meeting people and being exposed to other ideas, that's really kind of when they shine, when they're at their best. And sometimes there's Sagittarians really cut themselves short in how much, you know, they really know and have to share with others. I will say that about that. At times that they can struggle with their self-confidence as far as fire signs go, which is a little bit unusual. But they tend to kind of mask that a little bit. And once you get kind of below that really genial exterior, you can see sometimes some of those insecurities come out a little bit. So the downside to kind of Sagittarius, or the shadow side to Sagittarius rather, you know, can kind of be, since they're kind of idealistic like Aquarians, they can get really kind of down when things don't, you know, pan out, because they really do. They're kind of the sort of people that think the best of everyone around them, and you know, the world is not an ideal place, and so it can be very easily for Sagittarians to become almost cynical at times in their kind of philosophical underpinnings, because the world doesn't work the way that their beautiful ideals would have it work. So you know, that makes me sad, because that would be nice. But let's talk a little bit about some of the cards that are associated with Sagittarius, because that'll help us a little bit more with their symbolism. So Sagittarius, the card in the major arcana that you're going to find linked to it is Temperance. Okay, so these are people that are working on themselves. All right, these are people that are taking higher ideas and seeing as far as they can go with them, okay? So Sagittarians really do like to take a concept or an idea or a situation and just kind of run with it. If they think they have a really good positive direction going on for it, they will absolutely run for it. They can be a little impulsive, like a lot of fire signs, but they're not as impulsive as, say, like an Aries would be. So that's why you tend to see a little bit more self-processing, because with Sagittarians, it's kind of really about, they do focus a lot on relationships with other people, and that makes them stand out a little bit more from other fire signs, and that they're more like, well, what can I learn from this person? And then how can I integrate that into myself? So there's someone that goes around and sees positive traits in other people and situations and tries to incorporate that into their own life. And Sagittarians really kind of grow into themselves. So I really think that that's one of the reasons why this Temperance card speaks so strongly to Sagittarius's energy. Because it really is a beautiful energy, guys. Look at this beautiful glowing kind of crown back here in the background. And they've got to put in the work to do that. And sometimes they don't necessarily want to, because who doesn't want to just have fun? But the reality is things have to be practical. And so here's Jupiter's trump card, okay, in the major arcana. So that's associated with Sagittarius. And that's going to be the Wheel of Fortune, okay? So underneath it all, Sagittarius really is a deeply philosophical and thought-oriented sign. And they are thoughtful people. This is very much the case. But at times they can feel like they're just kind of victims, of the world. Like they're kind of out of control of their own lives. They can sometimes perceive that. So not the case. They can struggle with issues of grounding as a result of that. But that being said, Sagittarius can be generally is a very optimistic sign. And like I said, Jupiter definitely helps with that. And they do go through those cycles where they can be kind of depressed when their ideals aren't panning out. So it's very much like this kind of spinning wheel type energy that we see here on the Wheel of Fortune card. All right, so we're on to the next sign.